Good morning, folks. I'm here in my garden, as you can see. I'm going to plant some tomatoes. I just went to the Tilth Alliance plant sale last weekend and got I got exactly a dozen different tomatoes to try out. Some of them are locally developed strains, and some of them are more national. So I'm going to plant a mix of both. Initially I was just going to try to do locally developed ones, and then I thought that's no fun at all, so let's try to do both and see what does well and what doesn't. So I'm going to record this for posterity and also for my friends who I no longer get to see because I moved out of town. And basically to see what worked and what didn't work, and we're going to try a couple different tricks. I've got a dozen of eggs over there, as you can see, so you'll see what I'm going to do with those later. And yeah, let's get started. Alright. So basically the front row is going to be my big heirlooms, the traditional big honkin tomatoes, and then the back row I have like one heirloom, and then the rest of them are cherries. They're all indeterminates. There's two determinate varieties all the way in the back there, but everything up front is indeterminate. And I am going to have some trellising here to support. We're not going to do tomato cages. I did tomato cages last year and everybody said they were too small, and wouldn't you know it, they were too small. So we are not going to do that this year. So I'm going to do, let's start with this one. So this is a large barred borer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all the foliage on the bottom, and I'm going to bury it really deep, because if you can see, hopefully it's focusing, you can see these fine hairs along the stem. That's actually the tomato trying to root. So everything that I bury will root and basically create a really robust root structure. And that's why I'll do it and take all the foliage off. Plus, your low-hanging leaves, like that one just came right off, your lower hanging leaves tend to get sicklier as they're more likely to get wet, and tomatoes don't like to be wet. They like to be watered, but they don't like to be wet. So that's step one. Pair of bypass shears, and we'll just come in, take all these off. I'm gonna leave this one for now. But yeah, roughly like that, and then I'll bury it up to about here. I'm gonna try some of them with eggs and some of them without. And basically what that is I'm gonna take an egg, I'm gonna crack it at the bottom of the hole, and then I'm gonna plant the tomato on top of it. This fertilizes the soil, obviously, and it also provides the tomato with some calcium, which they use a lot of. It goes into their skins to make them crack resistant and thicker. Yeah. Hilariously, these beds have already been sown with a fuck ton of seeds. I've got clover here, all this is lettuce, and then onions. So my thought with the lettuce, and we'll see if this works, is that it'll suck up some of the extra water, because tomatoes do better when they're underwatered a little bit. And my hope is that once the lettuce establishes, it'll prevent them from being overwatered at the very least, because I tend to overwater. So basically, I'm just going to plant these, and I don't really care what seeds I destroy because I planted too many anyway. one was pretty tall, so the other ones will get buried a little bit deeper. But that's the gist of it. Just go along and do that for all of them. And as you can see, it's Seattle, by the way, where I live. A lot of you know that if you're watching this. So it's been raining constantly. It just sort of does that here. That's its whole thing. So this soil, despite looking kind of dry on the top, is drenched below the first inch or so. So we're not even going to water these today, I don't think. Unless I get really paranoid, which I do tend to do. This is a Berkeley tie-dye pink, which I'm pretty stoked about. That sounds like a fun one. And there you have it. Nice and easy. 12 freshly planted little baby tomatoes. Threw in a couple of basils as well that I picked up. I got a lettuce leaf basil, and then I got a dark opal or osman, I don't know, purple basil. That smells really nice and looks very exciting. And then I also planted a little chamomile plant with the hopes that either end of these two beds will be covered in little flowers. So there's in the back, there's milkweed as well, and then in the front there's tiny little cosmos, if you can see them. Yeah, that's about it. Well, thanks for joining me today in this endeavor. It's fun. Let's do it again sometime. Bye.